Thumbelina by Hans Christian Andersen.
Read and presented by George Pitropogiannakis.
Once upon a time, there was a woman who wanted to have a little girl smaller than any child she had ever seen.
I will go to see the old woman of magic. She will know what to do.
So off she went to the woods to find the old woman.
Are you the old woman of magic?
Yes, I am. Come in. There is nothing in the world that I cannot do with my magic. What is your wish?
My heart is set on having a little girl no bigger than my thumb. Can you help me?
Of course, nothing could be easier. Here is a magic seed. Plant it in a flower pot and you will see what will happen.
The woman hurried home to plant the magic seed. No sooner did she put the flower pot in a sunny window than...
My goodness, the plant is growing already.
A few moments later,
Truly, this is a magic seed. What a beautiful flower.
she was so delighted that she kissed the flower. As soon as she kissed it, the flower popped open, and there sat a tiny little girl. The woman was overjoyed.
Oh, how pretty you are, and how tiny you are. Indeed, you are no bigger than my thumb. I will call you Thumbelina.
The woman busied herself, thinking of ways to make her little girl comfortable and happy.
What is that, Mother?
It is a walnut shell. It will be just right for your cradle.
And it was. Thumbelina slept in the walnut shell at night with a smooth, soft rose petal for her blanket. In the daytime, she played upon the table. She liked to row back and forth on a leaf in a large bowl of water, using 2 white horse hairs for oars. All went well for a few days. Then, one night, a toad hopped in through the open window of Thumbelina's room.
What a pretty little girl. She would make a fine wife for my son.
The old toad carefully picked up the walnut shell and carried off the sleeping girl. The toad's son was waiting down by the brook.
See, my son, what a fine wife I have brought you.
How pretty she is.
We'll put her out on the water so she can't run away. There, now, she'll be safe.
Let us hurry back and prepare the house for my bride.
When morning came, Thumbelina woke up.
Oh, where am I?
Just then, the old toad returned with her son.
Who are these awful creatures coming toward me?
Good morning, my pretty miss. I have brought my son for you to meet. He is to be your husband.
How do you do, pretty lady?
We have come to take your little bed and put it in the room where you are to live.
I am sure you will be very happy with me. Ours is the finest house along the brook.
Oh dear. Oh dear, what can I do? I don't want to marry that ugly creature.
I will come back for you very soon.
The fish in the water heard Thumbelina weep. What is the matter? Why are you crying?
That ugly old toad has stolen me away from my mother, and now I must marry her son.
Don't cry, little girl. We can save you. Just hold tightly to the leaf and don't be afraid. All the fish began to bite at the stem of the water lily. At last it broke in two, and away floated Thumbelina down the stream and out of reach of the old toad and her son. How wonderful it felt to be free again. The water sparkled in the sunlight as Thumbelina floated along. Then a beautiful butterfly came flying by.
If you would like to go faster, I can pull you.
Thank you, pretty butterfly.
Thumbelina took off a ribbon from her waist and tied it to the butterfly.
Oh, what fun! How fast we are going now.
Thumbelina enjoyed the ride so much that she didn't see a large bee that flew along behind her. Suddenly,
Help! Help! Help me, butterfly!
but it was no use. The bee carried Thumbelina to the tree where it lived. Soon all the other bees came flying up to look at Thumbelina. What strange thing have you brought into our home? Look, it has no feelers. And look, it has only 2 legs. Yes, now that I look at it closely, I see that it is very strange indeed. I don't think I'll keep it after all. The bee picked up Thumbelina and flew down from the tree. I will put you here on this daisy.
Thank you for letting me go free.
All summer long, Thumbelina lived alone in the forest. She made herself a bed by weaving together bits of grass.
I will make my bed under these flowers. Then I won't get wet when it rains.
She found plenty of berries and honey to eat and was happy living out of doors. But when summer was over, it began to grow cold. And one day,
Oh dear, it's snowing. What shall I do? I am so hungry and so cold.
Thumbelina tried to wrap herself in a dry leaf, but it tore. She wandered through the forest, looking for a dry place to hide. Suddenly,
Why? That looks just like a door. I wonder if it's safe to knock.
just then the door opened, and there stood a field mouse. What are you doing out in the snow, little girl? Come into my house and warm yourself. The mouse was very kind to Thumbelina. Here is some hot cornmeal. Later. It is very nice to have company. I am always lonesome in the winter time.
if you will let me stay with you all winter. I will keep your house clean and sweep your floor.
Good. I have enough corn stored up to feed both of us. A few days later, there was a knock on the back door. That must be my friend, Mr. Mole. This door opens into a tunnel that leads to his house. Then, Mr. Mole, this is Thumbelina. She is going to live with me all winter. I am very happy to meet you, Thumbelina. During his visit, the mole fell in love with Thumbelina. And when he was leaving, Thumbelina is delightful. I would like to marry her. I'm glad to hear it. I'll speak to her about it. After the mole was gone. Mr. Mole wishes to marry you.
Well, I don't wish to marry him.
Nonsense. Of course you will marry him. He is very rich. His house is 20 times as big as mine.
I don't care about that. I will not marry someone who lives underground, even in the summertime.
But the mole kept coming to visit Thumbelina. One day, "Come, I will take you for a walk through the tunnel that leads to my house. Do not be afraid. There is a bird lying in the tunnel. He is frozen with cold.
Why don't you help him?
He is a bird, not a mole. He can do nothing but cry. Tweet, tweet, and freeze in the winter time." As they passed the swallow,
Poor thing, how cold and still he is.
that night,
I will weave a blanket of hay to cover the pretty swallow. Perhaps it will warm him and he will open his eyes.
when she was finished, Thumbelina tiptoed out of Mrs. Mouse's home and into the dark tunnel. She covered the swallow tenderly. Then,
Oh, I am so glad to see you open your eyes.
Thank you for helping me, little girl. Soon I will be warm again, and then I'll fly away.
Oh no, you're too sick to fly. Stay here and I will take care of you until warm weather comes.
so Thumbelina came every night to feed and care for the swallow. I hurt my wing and could not fly away when the cold weather came. Then I fell into a hole at the top of this tunnel.
Now that I found you, you'll soon be all right again.
All winter long, Thumbelina took care of the swallow. The mouse knew nothing about it. She was busy with other thoughts. Now it is all settled. At the end of next summer, you will marry Mr. Mole. The mouse made a fine wedding dress for Thumbelina, and every day the mole came to visit her. Well, my dear, it is spring at last. In just a few more months, we will be married. The days grew warm again. It is time for me to fly away, Thumbelina. Thumbelina opened a hole in the top of the tunnel, using the mouse's spoon for a shovel, and the bird flew out. "Won't you fly away with me, Thumbelina?" I know you don't want to marry Mr. Mole.
I would like to, but I can see that you are not strong enough to carry me on your back.
Farewell, dear Thumbelina. Thank you for saving my life.
Farewell, dear swallow. I'll never forget you.
Springtime passed, and then summer came and went. The mouse was always busy making new clothes for Thumbelina. Mr. Mole is so rich that his wife must be well dressed. Every evening, Thumbelina watched the sunset.
How I will miss the beautiful sun when I am married to Mr. Mole.
At last, the wedding day arrived. Thumbelina ran outside to say goodbye to the sun and the flowers.
Farewell, bright flowers. Today I must marry Mr. Mole and go to live in his house, deep under the earth.
Just then, Thumbelina heard a familiar voice. It was the swallow. Hello, Thumbelina. I am flying south for the winter. Won't you come with me?
Mrs. Mouse will be very sad if I do not marry Mr. Mole, but I will be very sad if I do marry him.
Then come with me. You can sit upon my back and we will fly far away. So Thumbelina climbed upon the swallow's back. Away they flew, high over the mountains where the snow always lies. And over the forests and over the seas. And at last they came to the warm countries. Thumbelina looked down and saw a beautiful white palace.
Oh, let us stop here.
That's where I live. My nest is in the highest tower.
How lovely! I will make my home in that beautiful garden.
The swallow flew down with Thumbelina.
This flower will be perfect for my house.
Then Thumbelina turned around and,
Who are you?
I am the king of the flowers. And who are you?
I am Thumbelina.
You are the prettiest girl I have ever seen. Will you marry me, Thumbelina? Thumbelina was filled with joy to find someone who was really just right for her.
I will be happy to marry you.
Then out of every flower came a little man or woman as handsome as the king. They all brought gifts to Thumbelina. The best gift of all was a pair of beautiful wings, which were fastened to her back. Now you can fly from flower to flower to visit all your new friends. The king took off his crown and put it on Thumbelina's head. And while the swallow sang his sweetest song, Thumbelina became queen of the flowers. And she and the king lived happily ever after. The end. Thumbelina by Hans Christian Andersen.
Read and presented by George Pitropogiannakis.